So before we get started, I want you to first imagine making $50,000 to $100,000 a month, right? How much would your life change? What worries would go away, right? And what I'm here to tell you is that that path is very much achievable. It may not happen immediately, it may not happen in 6 months, it may not even happen in 2 years, but if you're willing to work, it will happen relatively quickly, right? And I'll give you my story. And right now, I don't make $50,000 a month. I'll just be honest. I make about $200,000 a year, roughly translate to about $16,000 to $17,000 a month. And I plan on tripling that income within the next couple of years. And how I plan on doing that is these principles that I've learned in my sales job. So I came from a very analytical background. I came from computer science background, kind of like software engineering. We're very analytical people. So I've never, until before I got into sales, I never realized how sales and marketing works. But it's actually much more simple than the analytical mind would allow you to think. And I'll give you an example. So when I'm selling, sometimes I think this deal is horrible. This customer will not take this deal. Maybe the customer has like bad credit and we're giving them like really bad financing terms just because of their credit. I would be appalled to even be shown this deal. But these customers, they don't think that way. They buy because they have a need, and their need bypasses the price that, or the fee or the cost that you're showing them. And sometimes customers would pay for things much more than what it's actually worth because they see more value too. So a lot of times in any sales job, you have markups. And at first, I was curious why customers would pay any markup, but a lot of times customers are willing to pay for different reasons. Some customers want no friction. They're willing to pay extra thousand just to not spend an extra 20, 30 minutes negotiating, right? They just have it like that. And what sales made me realize was that you just have to ask the right people and your life will change. You just have to meet the right people and your life will change. And that sales is all about meeting the right, or matching the right person with the right product, right? And I'll give you an example. In this example, you actually have no product. If you have a 1 minute pitch, you can't sell anything. You just have to ask for $1 million from everyone that is currently alive. So 8 billion people roughly. And even if you don't have some sort of translator, you're doing it in English, I'm pretty sure you can get, out of 8 billion people, if you were to pitch $1 million, I'm pretty sure you can get a couple $1 million. Anytime I ask this question in real life, people always tell me multiple digits. They tell me like 5, 10, $15 million they can receive. And when we have this mentality that we can genuinely ask the right people and they'll just change our life, here's $5 million to change your life. If we truly believe that, but we don't believe that we can work hard for better outcomes, it just doesn't make any sense, right? So, I mean, I want to ask you, I mean, if you were to pitch for 1 minute to 8 billion people, $1 million, no less, no more, how many millions would you receive? I think if you really think about it, you receive multiple millions. I mean, people want to give money. Someone who has a ridiculous amount of money would just want to see how someone who has nothing would spend it, right? Someone is just curious like that. The world exists just like that. You have people that are so wealthy, they're curious, they're just waiting for an opportunity to spend their money, the right person to ask them. And sales is a very weird thing where we often think every consumer thinks like us. Every consumer is in our shoes, and it's not true. A lot of people are better off than you, and a lot of people are worse off. But you'd be surprised on how much money is actually just flowing, and how the people with money are just ready to spend it. When you have money, and I make about $200,000 a year, and I'm 24 and I'm single. So when I first started this job and I was making that kind of money, and I've never made that kind of money before, I was wondering how to spend it. What do I spend my money on? What kind of clothes do I buy? What kind of food do I eat? What kind of car do I drive? People who have money, and I'm not saying I'm rich or well off or by any means, but people who have money or above average, they tend to look for ways to spend money. Like they just love to spend. And a lot of times these spends, they justify in a way that makes sense to their life. So a car, like let's just say a Corvette that's marked up $10,000, this rich guy is not thinking, oh, this Corvette is marked up $10,000. I can't pay that because they're trying to get value out of me. He's just simply thinking, well, now it's worth $130,000, but this car, it's going to make me look a certain way that's going to create more business, more revenue. So they're already seeing this, even though this $10,000 markup exists, they acknowledge it, but they already see that this car will make them triple what they're spending on. So that's just a different perspective of seeing life. Another way to put it is just the abundance mindset. I think if you just assume that life will give things to you, it just goes that way. You know, since I've graduated, I took a leap of faith into sales, and life just gave it to me. And I'm taking a leap of faith back into business, back into marketing, back into, app creation, my background. And I think life will reward me. And I think that's my path to 50,000, $100,000 months. And if you're walking that path, or maybe you are walking my current path of making $200,000 a year, you have to take that leap of faith. I mean, if you're not taking that leap of faith, if your field is just something that's easy to get into, it just means it's saturated, right? Sales is just one of those things that it's not really saturated, because people aren't real salespeople. When I go to work, when I see other salespeople, they're not really selling; they're just order taking, right? Sales, if you truly learn how to work and the psychology and the consistency and all of those things that are needed to be a good salesman, I think you can take that and level up to the next level, which is where I'm at. I want to level up and be a creator, be someone that is not just a producer for a company. I want to be that person that hires those producers, right? And I think that's the next level to be earning the 50, 100K months.